We like to think that technology only moves forward, that the smartest people are alive today, that the past was simple, basic, primitive. But what if we're wrong? What if ancient civilizations knew things we don't? What if they built machines, designed cities, or created materials that modern science still can't fully explain? This isn't about aliens or conspiracy. This is about evidence, real artifacts, real structures, real systems that defy everything we thought we knew about human progress. From lost devices to impossible engineering, these ancient technologies raise one terrifying question. This is Lesson Lost. And these are 10 ancient technologies that modern science still can't explain. Let's begin. The Antikythera Mechanism, ancient Greek computer. Roman concrete, stronger than modern cement, the Baghdad battery, electricity. Before Edison, Damascus steel, the lost metal of legends. The Nazca lines, giant symbols. Visible only from the sky, the Sacsayhuaman stones. Precision that still puzzles engineers, the Lycurgus cup. Nanotechnology in ancient glass. The pyramid's internal cooling system, the Temple of Kailasa, carved from a single rock. The Ark of the Covenant, ancient power source. 1. The Antikythera Mechanism, ancient Greek computer. In 1901, sponge divers off the coast of Antikythera, a small Greek island, made a strange discovery. Among the remains of a sunken Roman ship, they found a lump of corroded bronze, broken, crusted, and almost unrecognizable. It sat in a museum for years. Nobody knew what it was, until scientists X-rayed it and found something impossible. Inside the lump were dozens of gears, carefully crafted, interlocked, and calibrated with astonishing precision. This wasn't just a machine. It was a computer, built more than 2,000 years ago. What did it do? The device, now called the Antikythera Mechanism, could track the movement of the sun, moon, and planets, predict eclipses with pinpoint accuracy, calculate Olympic Games cycles, align with the Metonic cycle, a 19-year astronomical pattern still used in modern calendars. And it did all this using hand-cranked gears, bronze dials, and ancient Greek inscriptions. It was a mechanical model of the universe, designed centuries before the invention of telescopes, clocks, or even basic mechanical watches. Why is it so mysterious? Because nothing else like it existed for the next 1,000 years. The level of craftsmanship, gear ratios, tooth shapes, planetary timing, was thought to be impossible in ancient times. Even with today's tools, replicating it exactly is a challenge. Some gears are 1 millimeter thin, with precision-cut teeth. It wasn't until the 14th century that anything even remotely comparable, like astronomical clocks, appeared in Europe. So where did this knowledge come from? The big questions: was the Antikythera Mechanism unique or part of a lost tradition? Were ancient Greeks more technologically advanced than we think? What other inventions were lost in shipwrecks, wars, or time itself? Scientists still debate how the device was used. Some believe it was an elite teaching tool. Others think it was a navigational instrument for advanced maritime explorers. But one thing is clear: it wasn't primitive. It wasn't lucky. It was genius. Why it matters today. The Antikythera Mechanism rewrites what we thought ancient people could do. It proves that high technology doesn't always look like wires and screens. Sometimes it looks like bronze gears hidden at the bottom of the sea. And if one device like this survived, how many others didn't? This isn't just a relic. It's a warning. 2. Roman concrete, stronger than modern cement. The Romans built cities, roads, and harbors over 2,000 years ago, and many of them are still standing. Their buildings didn't just survive time. They survived earthquakes, floods, and centuries of wear. Compare that to today's concrete, which begins to crack and decay within just a few decades. So what was their secret? Why is Roman concrete, a formula from the ancient world, stronger, longer lasting, and in some cases self-healing? What did they build? Roman concrete, or opus cementitium, was used in structures like the Pantheon, with the world's largest unreinforced concrete dome. The Colosseum, still standing after countless wars and weather aqueducts, temples, and seaports that haven't collapsed in over 2,000 years. Modern engineers often say, and they're right, what was in it? recent research revealed something shocking. Roman concrete was made using lime, calcium oxide, volcanic ash from places like Pozzuoli in Italy, seawater, not fresh water, and crushed volcanic rock. When these materials mixed, they formed a chemical reaction, creating crystalline structures that grew stronger over time, not weaker. And here's the most mind-blowing part. Some Roman concrete heals itself when it cracks. Yes, you read that right. Tiny cracks allow water to seep in, reactivating the lime and volcanic minerals, which causes new crystals to form and seal the gap. Modern science is only now beginning to study and copy this. So what happened to the recipe? It was lost. After the fall of the Roman Empire, the technique disappeared. For over 1,000 years, people used weaker methods, bricks, mud, and eventually Portland cement in the 19th century. And while today's concrete is cheap and fast to produce, it's far less durable. We build skyscrapers that need maintenance every 30 years. The Romans built temples that last millennia. What does this mean? They knew something we forgot, and we may have just rediscovered it too late. If we had kept that knowledge, imagine the cities, dams, and bridges we could have built, lasting hundreds of years with zero maintenance. This isn't science fiction. It's science that once existed and then was lost. So the next time you walk past a crumbling parking garage, think about this. The Romans could have built one that outlived your great-great-grandchildren. And we just forgot how. 3. The Baghdad battery, electricity before Edison. When we think of electricity, we think of the modern world. Power lines, light bulbs, Tesla, Edison. But what if someone, 2,000 years ago, was experimenting with electric current? In 1938, while excavating near Baghdad, Iraq, workers uncovered something unexpected. A small clay jar with a copper cylinder inside and an iron rod in the center. It looked like a battery, and it came from Parthian-era Mesopotamia, around 250 BCE. Historians called it the Baghdad battery. What was it made of? The artifact includes a terracotta pot about 5 inches tall, a copper tube rolled from a sheet, an iron rod inserted through the middle, traces of an acidic substance like vinegar or wine. When reconstructed and filled with acidic liquid, it produces voltage, just like a modern battery. Not much, around 0.5 to 1 volt, but it's electricity. From 2,000 years ago. What could it be used for? That's the mystery. There's no clear documentation or writing that explains the device. But several theories exist. Electroplating metals, coating jewelry with thin layers of gold or silver, religious or mystical use, like creating a tiny electric shock to inspire all medical treatments, using electric pulses as seen in other ancient cultures. Or maybe it was just an experimental curiosity. The truth is, we don't know. Why it's controversial. Some scholars argue it was never meant to be a battery. They say it could have been a storage vessel, a scroll container, or simply misinterpreted. But here's the twist. Similar artifacts have been found in the region, and ancient texts from Egypt and Greece mention techniques that sound like electrochemistry. If it really was a battery, it would mean someone, long before Ben Franklin or Edison, had figured out how to generate and harness electricity, even if only in small amounts. Why this matters? It changes the narrative. We think of science as a linear climb, cave to candle to light bulb to solar panel. But the Baghdad battery suggests something else. That ancient people might have reached out into the unknown, tried things we now take for granted, and then forgot. Knowledge lost to war, time, or disinterest. This isn't science fiction. It's real. It's in a museum. And it still works. So next time you flip a light switch, remember, you're not the first human to feel the spark. Just the latest. 4. Damascus steel, the lost metal of legends. Imagine a sword so sharp it can slice silk in midair. So strong it can cut through stone, yet never break. So beautiful it carries swirling patterns like smoke trapped in metal. This was Damascus steel, a weapon of legend, and a metallurgical mystery that still haunts scientists today. What was Damascus steel? Between the 3rd and 17th centuries, warriors across the Middle East carried swords made from a unique type of steel. Dark, strong, flexible, and covered in wavy patterns. These weren't just beautiful, they were deadly effective. They held an edge longer than any European blade of the time. The steel was superior in every way. So, how was it made? The secret ingredient. The original Damascus steel was likely forged using wootz steel, imported from India and Sri Lanka. This steel was made using a complex process involving iron ore with high carbon content, controlled cooling to allow crystal formation, use of vegetable materials in the smelting process, which added carbon. The result? A blade with microscopic carbon nanotubes and carbide structures, things we only started understanding in modern nanotechnology. Yes, nanotech in a 1,000-year-old sword. So why can't we recreate it? Here's the strange part: the knowledge was lost. By the 18th century, the ability to produce real Damascus steel simply vanished. The reasons? Likely a mix of the decline of trade routes for wootz steel, lost oral traditions among blacksmith guilds, industrial revolution replacing artisan methods with mass production. Modern scientists have tried to reverse engineer the process. Some have come close, but nobody has perfectly recreated the original Damascus structure with the same flexibility, sharpness, and strength. What does it mean? Ancient blacksmiths, without computers or chemistry degrees, created a super material using trial, error, and instinct. A steel that rivaled, and in some ways exceeded, what we can make in modern labs. That's not just impressive, that's humbling. Damascus today. Most Damascus steel sold today is not real Damascus. It's pattern-welded steel, made by folding metals to mimic the look, but not the chemical structure. The true art remains lost. A weapon made by hand, stronger than science, vanished into legend. So the next time someone tells you ancient people were primitive, tell them about Damascus steel and ask them 5. The Nazca lines, giant symbols, visible only from the sky. In the dry desert plains of southern Peru, there are lines etched into the earth, massive lines, stretching for miles, straight, curved, geometric, and animal-shaped. They form birds, monkeys, spiders, even a humanoid figure nicknamed the astronaut. These are the Nazca lines, drawn over 2,000 years ago and only fully visible from the sky. But here's the strange part. The people who made them couldn't see them. What are they? The Nazca lines are a series of geoglyphs, massive images made by removing the top layer of reddish rock and exposing the lighter soil beneath. There are over 300 figures, including straight lines up to 30 miles long, geometric shapes like spirals and trapezoids, animals like whales, hummingbirds, and monkeys, and humanoid figures that look like astronauts or aliens. They cover an area of over 50 square kilometers. And yet, they were created with no aerial view. How were they made? That's part of the mystery. Scholars believe the Nazca people used wooden stakes, ropes, simple surveying tools, and careful measurement techniques. The desert's climate, hot, dry, windless, preserved the lines for centuries. But still, the scale is mind-blowing. Imagine walking for miles, tracing a shape you can't see, hoping it forms a hummingbird large enough to be visible from space. That's not just art, that's engineering. That's obsession. What were they for? We don't know for sure. Theories include ritual pathways walked during religious ceremonies, messages to the gods, especially sky deities, astronomical calendars tracking solstices and star alignments, alien runways, popularized by ancient astronaut theories. But none of these fully explain why some lines never connect to anything, why figures are only visible from the air, or how the planning was executed without aerial assistance. It's like carving a billboard that only the sky can read. Why it still puzzles scientists. Modern archaeologists have used satellites, drones, and LiDAR scanning, and yet, new lines are still being discovered. Some were found as recently as 2020. Thousands of years later, these messages are still being revealed. We don't know the full language of the Nazca. We don't know what they wanted us to see. But they built something that lasted longer than their own civilization. What it tells us. The Nazca lines challenge our assumptions about ancient people, that they only built small scale, that they couldn't conceptualize large designs, that they lacked purpose in abstract art, wrong on all counts. They imagined something bigger than themselves, and they put it into the earth. So next time you look at the sky, remember that 2,000 years ago, Someone on the ground was already talking to it. 6. The Sacsayhuaman stones. Precision that still puzzles engineers. High above the city of Cusco, Peru, stand the ruins of a massive stone fortress. Its name is Sacsayhuaman, pronounced Sacsayhuaman, and it was built by the Inca civilization, or maybe even those who came before them. At first glance, it looks like just another archaeological site.
But then you notice the stones.
Giant stones, some weighing over 100 tons. And yet, they fit together perfectly, like pieces of a jigsaw puzzle. No mortar, no gaps, no modern tools. Just stone, locked in place with mind-bending precision. Why is it so special? The Sacsayhuaman wall is made up of irregularly shaped stones. Each stone is individually carved to fit its neighbors. You can't even fit a razor blade between them. Some stones have as many as 12 angles, and they interlock in a way that makes the wall earthquake-resistant. Even after hundreds of years and multiple quakes, the walls still stand, while modern buildings have crumbled. How was it built? That's the mystery. The Incas didn't use wheels, iron tools, pulleys, or written plans, and yet they transported massive boulders across mountains, shaped them with near-atomic accuracy, and lifted them into place. We still don't fully know how. Some theories suggest teams of thousands using ropes and ramps, hammerstones and sand for precision carving, or perhaps techniques and knowledge that have since disappeared. But none of these fully explain the consistency of the craftsmanship, the seismic durability, or how the stones were lifted and aligned without machines. Could it be older than the Incas? Some archaeologists and researchers believe that the Incas inherited the foundation of Sacsayhuaman from a much earlier civilization, then built on top of it. Why? Because the stonework at the bottom is far more precise and larger than what sits on top, a pattern seen at other megalithic sites too. If true, that would mean the techniques used are even older and more lost than we thought. What it tells us, Sacsayhuaman is not just a ruin. It's a riddle carved in stone. It reminds us that ancient builders weren't just skilled, they were genius. Engineering isn't always about machines. It's about method. And sometimes the biggest clues in histories are the ones that still stand. We can't fully replicate what they did, and maybe we were never meant to. So the next time someone calls ancient people primitive, show them a photo of Sacsayhuaman and ask, 7. The Lycurgus Cup. Nanotechnology in ancient glass. At first glance, it looks like a beautiful Roman artifact, a delicate glass cup with intricate carvings of a mythological scene. But then something strange happens. Hold the cup up to the light, and it changes color. In normal lighting, it appears green, but when lit from behind, it turns a glowing blood red. This isn't a magic trick. It's not stained glass. It's nanotechnology, made in the 4th century AD. What is the Lycurgus Cup? Named after King Lycurgus of Thrace, whose myth is depicted on its surface, the Lycurgus Cup is made of dichroic glass, a material that changes color depending on how light hits it. There's only one known example of this glass surviving from the Roman Empire. It was created over 600 years ago. But the real magic is in the science. What's the secret? Modern analysis has shown that the glass contains gold and silver nanoparticles, suspended inside the glass matrix. These particles are 50 to 100 nanometers wide. They interact with light at the quantum level, causing optical effects that shift colors based on light direction. This is the same principle behind modern plasmonic nanotech, used today in medical diagnostics, solar cells, aerospace materials, and yet, the Romans did it without microscopes, particle physics, or even electricity. How did they do it? That's the mystery. It's possible they stumbled upon it by accident, adding small amounts of precious metals to molten glass, refining techniques over generations, and noticing the strange color shift in special lighting. But the precision of the particle sizes and distribution? That's hard to explain as coincidence. Some researchers believe Roman craftsmen had a functional understanding of light and materials, even if they didn't know the science behind it. They knew what worked, even if they couldn't explain why. Why it matters. The Lycurgus cup is physical proof that ancient people manipulated matter at the nanoscale over 1,000 years before modern science even had the vocabulary for it, and they did it for beauty, ritual, and wonder. It challenges the idea that high technology only exists in circuits and silicon. Sometimes, it's blown into glass, shaped by fire, and passed through history. So the next time someone says the ancients were behind the times, show them the Lycurgus cup. And ask, 8. The pyramid's internal cooling system, the Great Pyramid of Giza, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. Over 4,500 years old. Built with over 2 million stone blocks, each weighing several tons. Still standing. Still mysterious. But there's one feature most people don't talk about. Inside the pyramid, temperatures remain stable, even in the scorching Egyptian desert. While the outside burns under 40 degree, 104 degrees heat, the inside stays cool around 20 degree, 68 degree, year-round. How? Because the pyramid may contain a passive cooling system, a natural form of ancient air conditioning. How is that possible? The pyramid's design includes narrow internal passageways, long angled shafts, massive stone thickness, and strategic alignment with celestial bodies. Some experts believe this combination helps block out external heat, channel cool air through internal shafts, and maintain thermal stability through insulation and airflow. This technique is known today as passive cooling, a concept used in modern green architecture. But the Egyptians may have discovered it 4,000 years ago, without electricity, without fans, without modern tools. What does the evidence say? Researchers studying the Great Pyramid and other ancient tombs noticed temperatures stay stable even in chambers deep underground. Some shafts align with stars, possibly for spiritual purposes, but also for air movement. The material, mostly limestone and granite, absorbs heat slowly and releases it even slower. This acts as a kind of thermal buffer, preventing extreme interior temperature swings. Were they aware of what they built? The builders intentionally design a cooling system? We can't say for sure. But they were master architects, aligning pyramids with stars and the cardinal directions. They understood math, geometry, and materials better than we often credit them for. It's possible the cooling effect was a byproduct of smart engineering. Or maybe it was part of a larger design to preserve sacred chambers and protect the dead. Either way, it worked. For thousands of years, what it teaches us. Modern architects now study ancient Egyptian structures for inspiration in sustainable design. We've come full circle, rediscovering what the ancients already knew. In a world of AC units and smart thermostats, the pyramids remind us that nature has always had the answer, if you know how to build with it. So the next time someone calls them just tombs, tell them this. 9. The Temple of Kailasa, carved from a single rock. Most buildings are constructed piece by piece, brick by brick, stone by stone. But what if an entire temple, towers, columns, sculptures, and all, was carved downward from a single solid rock? That's exactly what you'll find in Maharashtra, India, at the Kailasa Temple. A structure so massive, so detailed, and so mysterious that even modern engineers can't fully explain how it was built. What is the Kailasa Temple? The Kailasa Temple is part of the Ellora Cave Complex, a UNESCO World Heritage Site carved into volcanic rock cliffs. Unlike most temples that are constructed from the ground up, Kailasa was excavated top-down, meaning builders started at the top of the rock and chiseled their way down, removing material as they went. The temple includes a massive courtyard, life-sized elephant sculptures, multi-level pillars and chambers, and an entire central shrine with a spire, all from one continuous rock face. No joints, no assembly, just stone. How was it built? That's the mystery. According to inscriptions, the temple was built during the 8th century under King Krishna I of the Rashtrakuta dynasty. Historians estimate over 200,000 tons of rock were removed, possibly in just 18 years, using primitive chisels and hammers. But let's pause. That would require removing 10 tons of rock per day, perfectly, cleanly, without damaging the final structure. Working from the top down without mistakes. Even with today's tools, that's an enormous challenge. One wrong cut and the entire temple would be ruined. Could there be more to the story? Some researchers suggest hidden knowledge of geometry and acoustic resonance, advanced planning techniques like 3D modeling without paper, a large, highly organized workforce with generational expertise. Others speculate more wildly, ancient machines or forgotten technology. But even without theories, the structure speaks for itself. It is symmetrical, harmonized, and carved with artistic mastery. This isn't just a temple. It's a feat of architecture and devotion. Why it matters, the Kailasa temple shatters our assumptions about ancient limitations. It shows that, with enough purpose, humans can turn mountains into monuments. Real craftsmanship isn't about the tools. It's about vision. And history still holds miracles carved in stone, waiting to be seen, so the next time someone says, "Ancient builders couldn't do that," tell them about Kailasa and ask. 10. The Ark of the Covenant, ancient power source, is one of the most legendary artifacts in human history. A golden chest said to contain the tablets of Moses, a sacred object of power, glory, and destruction. But what if the Ark of the Covenant was more than a religious symbol? What if it was a technology? What was the Ark? According to biblical texts, the Ark was a gold-plated wooden chest approximately 4 feet long with 2 cherubim statues on top, said to contain the 10 Commandments, housed in the Holy of Holies in the Temple of Solomon. So powerful, it killed anyone who touched it or looked inside. It was carried into battles. It brought down walls. It struck people dead. And then it vanished. No one knows where it is, or if it even still exists. What makes it a mystery? The descriptions in ancient texts are unusual. The Ark needed to be carried with wooden poles, never touched directly. It was always kept behind thick veils and handled by priests in special garments. It was said to emit rays, thunder, and even cause people to tremble or die. Some believe this was religious symbolism. Others believe it was a high-voltage electrical device. Could it have stored energy? The design, a gold-coated box with an insulating wooden core, is similar to a Leyden jar, one of the earliest known capacitors. Gold is conductive. Air and wood are insulators. And if the Ark had wires or rods that channeled electrical charge, then yes, it could have generated or stored static electricity, enough to shock, enough to intimidate, enough to feel divine. Was it built for power? Some theories, though speculative, does suggest. The Ark may have been part of a larger energy system in ancient temples. It could have been used to charge metals, create sound resonance, or act as a capacitor, or perhaps it was designed to mimic divinity through visible power. It's even been linked, fictionally, to weapons, communication tools, or alien tech in popular culture. But the reality is this: we don't know. Because the Ark disappeared, possibly hidden, destroyed, or buried, and its construction was never replicated. What it represents. Whether a spiritual relic, a myth, or an ancient energy device, the Ark of the Covenant reminds us that ancient technology wasn't always separate from religion. In the ancient world, the line between science and sacred was blurred. Power, real or symbolic, was divine. And maybe the Ark was both, a container of laws and a vessel of electricity. So the next time you see an old painting of a glowing box surrounded by lightning, ask yourself, what have we forgotten? We like to think we're the smartest humans to ever live. That we invented technology, mastered nature, and built a future no one else imagined. But maybe the past was smarter than we think. Maybe ancient people knew things we've lost. Techniques, materials, tools, even ideas. They carved temples from mountains, built computers from bronze, stored power in golden boxes, and poured knowledge into stone that still stands after thousands of years. What else is still buried? What else have we forgotten? This isn't just history. It's a warning. This is lesson lost. And now the forgotten is remembered. Call to action. Engage your viewers. Which ancient technology shocked you the most? Drop it in the comments. We read every one. Like this video if it made you rethink history. Subscribe to Lesson Lost for more mind-opening content. Let's rediscover the knowledge they didn't want you to learn.